I think let's get started.
Yes, ma'am. I've started the recording. Yeah, the recording has started. We can go ahead.
Okay. Welcome all of you to this session, which is the first of the series on journey of deep science entrepreneurs. We are proud to feature Dr. Vinay, our IISc alumni, who's going to talk about the PathShodh journey that he's part of. The agenda for today's uh, session is bit about the Deep Science Entrepreneurs series, and we have a bit of introduction about EntIISc, the Student Club of Entrepreneurship at IISc, and InCense, an incubator for nanotechnology startups. And then we will listen to Dr. Vinay about his journey. And we want this to be a very interactive session. And please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Sudeep and me will monitor and take those questions. So as you all know, IISc is known for its strength in fundamental science and technology. And we have kind of, as a country, there are enough problems that need solutions, and we are really looking to see how the power of technology and the deep understanding the IISc community has that can be put to use for solving the society problems. And in this series, we want to feature those entrepreneurs who have taken a leap of faith to get into the not so easy journey of the entrepreneurship in the deep science technology, and are able to make a difference to the society, and also making their research mean something to the society. So that is the kind of entrepreneurs we would like to feature in this series. And with that, I hand over to Sudeep for an introduction to EntIISc. Sudeep, over to you.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, ma'am, for handing over to me. So, Entrepreneurship and Innovation IISc is a student-run forum established in 2013, and the focus of this forum is to develop entrepreneurial ecosystem and to bring student community closer to the startup culture. And we aspire to achieve these goals by carrying out events, seminars, workshops, webinars, and pitch events for fundraising. And we are looking forward to provide suitable traction for the startups through our startup service cell program. And going to the next slide. So in our startup service cell, we are looking forward to support, provide mentorship and consulting for the startups which are budding from IISc and outside, with the ones which has really good differentiating ideas. And we are looking forward to provide support in the areas of product development and strategy, management strategy, human resource management, fundraising, marketing consultancy, basic legal advisory, and networking and sources. So by saying this, I would like to hand it over to Tulsi ma'am to give an introduction about InCense. If you want to write it to us on team.entiisc@iisc.ac.in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudeep, for the brief introduction. Now I would like to introduce InCense, one of the technology business incubators. Before I talk a bit about InCense, I want to first start with what is an incubator, what is its role. The role of an incubator is to facilitate de-risking of an idea, to help improve its odds of success in the commercialization journey. And this journey is particularly challenging for the solutions and the problems that we want to solve using the deep science and technology. So I'm quite passionate about this, and that's why I'm here to kind of take this journey and see how we can help facilitate this. And InCense is a technology business incubator located at Center for Nano Science and Engineering, Sense, as it is popularly known within IISc campus. We are funded by Government of Karnataka, and we support ideas from entrepreneurs and startups, and this is not restricted to IISc alumni. Our focus is on nanotechnology, deep science, and interdisciplinary ideas. What do we offer? We have two programs, pre-incubation and incubation, through which we offer free workspace and access to Sense facilities. As many of you know, Sense has the state-of-the-art nanofabrication and characterization facility. So we will give free access to the Sense facilities for the period of incubation, and it is at a discounted price afterwards for the startups. We also provide technical mentoring through Sense faculty as well as other experts within IISc, and also business mentoring through our network. Uh, we also provide to our incubates IP advice and also connections to get their IP protected by facilitating and connection to the outside world, the agencies who are professionals in this space. So as an outreach, we also conduct trainings, workshops towards the capacity building. And these trainings and workshops are hosted by us, as well as we provide information about these things that are conducted by the broader ecosystem, both within IISc as part of, as you heard from Sudeep, we have SID as outreach arm for IISc. Within SID, there are special incubators. One of them is InCense, other one is CPD Med, and also we have several more on cyber security and gallium nitride technology, etc. So we also through maintaining a network with all the ecosystem, both within IISc and the broader Government of Karnataka, as well as the Startup India initiatives, we kind of provide information about all the funding opportunities that are available for the uh, startups, and connect to the investor community through our networks, and also access to the demo days that are conducted by various organizations. So, and many more like this. And mostly these are, as you know, these are driven by what the startup needs, and the needs of each of the startup is very unique. So we don't keep a standard template, but we really try to understand what each of you need and then provide the necessary support. How can you be our incubate? There is a three-step process. First, you have to express interest by giving preliminary details about your team, what problem you want to solve, and the role of technology, and why InCense. So these are the first couple of details that we need to understand what you're trying to do. And based on that, we do a technical feasibility by connecting with the faculty or expert in the given area to understand and evaluate the technical feasibility of your proposal. Once we get a positive feedback from the technical expert, then we take it to the review of the selection committee. The selection committee is comprises of both the technical as well as the people from business and other experience in nanotechnology, as well as the broader deep science technology entrepreneurship. So based on the recommendation of the selection committee, the startup is incubated at InCense. And I won't go into all the details, but the selection criteria, as you can expect for such an, it is how good the team in their entrepreneurial energy and the kind of commitment that they have to the this journey, and what problem is being solved, what its impact, and how unique is the technology. Is it edge emerging technology, or is it a tail end technology? And what is the target customer segments, and what would be the benefits for the customer? And also we look for whether the proposal has a reasonable understanding of the competition markets and clarity on the business model and commercialization pathways. Although these are sometimes we are not that critical, especially if the idea is good and the role of technology is really unique and we are really going to make a big difference to the society, then we kind of help with the other aspects. But we really appreciate if the startups have some grasp of these other non-technical aspects as well. So what's our unique value proposition? As you can see today, you have several incubators, and why InCense? So InCense offers uh, incomparable support, primarily because of the access to the state of the lab and fabrication facilities. And also this is the department is not only have faculty, but we have very experienced technologists as well as the expertise within the broader ecosystem within INCense and IISc. And these are the key facilities that we have at Sense that are offered to our startups. Just a quick uh, showcase of our current incubates. We have 4 incubates right now: Agnet, Theranoslis, International Center for Nano Devices, and SuperQ. And we have 3 pre-incubates who are with us, who probably either graduate to become an incubate or decide to take an alternate path. Please, I will paste this in the chat window as well. If you are interested to apply to be incubated at InCense, please apply through this form. With that, I thank you for your interest. If there are any quick questions, I'll take now. Otherwise, we have 2 minutes for question and answers. Otherwise, we will take it at the end. If any, Sudeep, are there any questions for me? You can read them.
As of now, no questions, ma'am.
Okay.
But we really urge audience to ask a few questions if you have any queries and get it addressed. If not, we will go ahead with our.
Okay. So what I'll do is now I will do a brief introduction of the. We'll give a minute for any questions. If not, we'll move to the next agenda. Today's speaker for the session is Dr. Vinay Kumar. He is our alumnus with a PhD securing a gold medal in from Nano Science and Engineering. And biosensing technologies invented by Vinay are at the heart of PathShodh Healthcare. And it has been his motto to ease the burden of people suffering from chronic diseases and with a strong desire to serve the society. He is currently the CEO and R&D head for PathShodh Healthcare Pvt Limited, Bangalore. His focus has been to invent out-of-the-box solutions based on deep scientific exploration and translating scientific innovations to products to serve the population at large. His research at IISc has resulted in 20 international patents and many research publications. His current research interests include the novel biosensing technologies for point-of-care applications. He is a recipient of MIT Technology Review TR35 Award, INAE Indian National Academy of Engineering Entrepreneur Award, Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, IISc Best PhD Thesis Award, IIT Kharagpur Nina Saxena Award, DBT BIRAC Innovator Award, IESA Technovation Award. So I think the list is quite long, and I'm very sure this is just a beginning of the long list of recognitions that he would secure in the future. Under his leadership, PathShodh has also received FICCI Healthcare Award, CIA Grand Jury Award for Best Innovation, Titan Trust Design Impact Award for Social Change. With such a impressive resume, I would now hand over to Vinay to actually share his journey, and I requested him to share his experiences, including dilemmas, the choices that he has to make, as well as the challenges that he faced in the journey. So please feel free to ask. This is for you that we are organizing. So please feel free to ask your questions. With that background, I hand it over to Vinay now. Vinay, would you like control of this thing?
Yes, please. Can you share? Yeah.
Yeah, I gave control.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Tulsi, Sudeep, and whole entrepreneurship shell InCense team. I'm really humbled to share some of my experience in this little bit, whatever I learned during academia, during the entrepreneurship journey. And as you know that India, there are the many India inside the India, right? I feel that this small journey, these small experiences, at least some of you can also connect with you or correlate with you, because many of us come from the lower middle class families with lot of dreams in our head, and then start our journey. So my journey is not very different from many of you. I will share some of the events, because of those events I'm here today. So let's start. As you know, the talk title is PathShodh Journey, 3 P's of my life. So till now, the distance I covered, I can describe these in 3 P's. And first P is pathology, right? So I believe many of you are aware about this word pathology labs. And during the pandemic, I'm sure, we are all aware about the testing, diagnostics, and pathology. So this is a Greek word made up from pathologia, pathos plus logia, and the meaning of pathology is really the study of suffering, right?
Yes, sir.
So I will go into the little flashback. Many time when entrepreneurship come in our mind, then we feel that we should be the business professional from Harvard Business School or something, somebody from the Bay Area, and then we can start the entrepreneurship. But I believe that you can understand that if I can get into the entrepreneurship journey, then almost everybody or many of you can start this. This is not like something for chosen few, and country need this. India need the more entrepreneur to start this journey. I will go into the little flashback. I come from a small village in western Uttar Pradesh. Uh, there was a time, till my intermediate or 12th standard, there was no, electricity. Of course, in many villages in UP, electricity was the problem at that time. And we were using these kerosene lamps for the study, and one more lamp is there, which only we were lighting when some guest was coming to the houses, right? So this was like a advanced version of kerosene lamp. We had the buffaloes in my family, and buffalo, was the very much integral part of the family. If one given day the buffalo didn't take or eat the grass, that was the big news for my family. We were also not eating the food, right? So this was the attachment and environment around. Atlas cycle of my father was the Mercedes for us, right? So oiling the Atlas cycle every weekend was a very routine job, right? So this was the background, right? Now, I studied in the primary schools, right, government schools, and when I did my high school, there was no, the school nearby, and one local leader converted a sugar cane, factory into the school, and I couldn't find the better picture to describe that my school. There were the lot of such type of vessels were around, and there was no, the sitting place. We were sitting, close to these vessels and were studying, right? So but this was a very cool and calm environment there. So this was my high school I did in this sugarcane setup. Now, during high school, one thing was happen which turned my whole life actually. I was pursuing this into this sugarcane school, and one fine day, it was happening from many months. I was getting weaker and weaker, and the lot of health complications had started. My weight was drastically going down. I was drinking several liters of the fluid, the water, and going weaker and weaker every day. And doctor declared me insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. I'm sure many of you are aware about diabetes. There are two forms of diabetes. One is the adulthood and other is the childhood diabetes. So I was diagnosed with the juvenile diabetes, where doctor prescribed that every day I have to take 3 injections, right? Otherwise, I cannot survive. So this is the practice in juvenile diabetes. And this was the big shock, not for me, but my whole family, because in the villages, you cannot visualize any disease where every day you have to take the 3 injections, right? And today, while I'm talking with you, I was just roughly calculating like more than 20,000 pathology tests I underwent for heart, kidney, eyes, glycemic control, at least more than 30,000 insulin injections, and lot of fainting episodes. I was admitted more than 3 times in ICU, unconscious. These are the complications which come from the insulin management into the juvenile diabetes, particularly where insulin is a must. So with these, the whole numbers, uh, I was quite familiar with the common sense of the pathology, how the pathology labs and how tests are done.
We are losing you. Hello.
Can you please go to next slide? Yes, yes, yes. So
We are losing you, sir.
Vinay, maybe to save bandwidth, do you want to turn off the video?
I think that would be better.
Yeah.
Right.
I will also turn off the video so that. Yeah.
Sure.
Everyone see the screen? I am on the screen on the first blood glucose was around.
Right. Yes. So this was my first number. I was diagnosed with 500, and I still remember the day. My mother was with me in the doctor's office, and this was there was no doctor, in fact, in the village. It was around 20-30 kilometer. First time when I diagnosed with diabetes. And when doctor advised the everyday injections, then he advised to my mother that it will not be good for him to go to the school, because school was also several kilometer away from my house. And because of the complications of the insulin, that he can faint anywhere, it's better to stop the education. She's my mother. She's not with me now, but at that time, she didn't have the what we call the formal educations. But whatever I am, there is the great role of this woman. The doctor was in very seriousness explaining to my mother about this disease, that if he can live, then there is no need of education. And this was not a big deal in my village, that to stop the education. And my mother, with the very conviction and confidence, told to that doctor that you tell the treatment, and he will not stop the education, whatever will happen. So whatever little bit I learned, I acquired. This was the moment when everybody, in my home was almost, decided that there is no education because I was fainting and all that complications were happening. Next slide, please. So with this first P of the pathology, my whole career went with these tests, these doctors and all that. I completed high school, then BSc, then MSc in electronic science, then MTech in microelectronics and PhD in biomedical engineering. So the whole career, in fact, my career began after the diagnosis of the disease, and this is still continue with me, and I'm thankful to the lot of people and God and universe that I completed this career during all these complications.
Vinay, you still have control. You can move or I can move whenever you want.
I'm moving that. There is a little lag.
I will
Can you
move.
please move?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something not moving. Right. Now, second P of this journey was my PhD at Sense IISc, and some pictures were clear in my mind based on the experience that how the pathology labs evolved. If you see a century back, this is the Hopkins Laboratory of USA. That time you can hardly see any engineering instrument into pathology lab. At that time, for the testing of the blood and urines, they were really cooking the samples. They were doing a lot of hard work. The pathologists, scientists at that time, they were precipitating, and then the color sensing or optical sensing was one of the famous tool, spectrometer at that time. But if you visit any pathology lab today, you can see a lot of auto analyzers, right? So big machines, big chemical analyzers. You can get the very sensing and accurate results within a quick time. So there is a huge advancement happened in the technology of medical field and pathology. Next slide, please. Enter. Right. So while at the one side, the development was happening at the pathology lab, big analyzers, one breakthrough had happened in 80s and 90s. There was a professor of biotechnology called Professor Clark, and he came up with an idea of glucometer. I'm sure many of you are aware about this handy device where you can measure your blood glucose within few seconds, and you can buy it from any pharmacy shop. And that was the time that whole research community was very much impressed by this idea, because the portability of the device, you can carry it anywhere, and everybody started research to develop more such device for other disease and other tests. Next slide, please. Next. Next. Right. So as you can see here, after the breakthrough of glucometer, the research publication of the biosensor exponentially increased. Right. So if you search the research literature, you can find that everything had happened, everything developed in the publications. But the harsh reality is that today this handheld point of care, these health gadget market, world market is touching around, more than 17 billion USD. But major contributor today is still blood glucose. Blood glucose is still the driving force of the point of care or handheld medical devices. While we need such device for other tests, I'm giving you just an example for diabetes only. There are such important tests like HbA1c, some proteins like glycated albumin, serum albumin, and hemoglobin, some urine markers, where we need such device which is handy, easy to use, and accurate. So there was a gap, when I joined the PhD, and I see that, we need to move beyond the glucometer. We need more device for other disease markers like glucometer. Next slide, please. Right. So I looked carefully, because diabetes was near and dear to me, and I looked at what is available for the diabetes treatment. So four pillars were there: medicine. Then we need the comprehensive glycemic management of the patient. We need diet and exercise. We need the detection of complication of the diabetes, because diabetes, as you know, affect every organ of the human, including heart, kidney, eyes, and all. Now at the medicine level, we have the medicine. Doctor can prescribe the medicine. Different type of medicines are available. Enter. Then diet and exercise, if the person is willing, they can manage some diet restrictions and some exercise. Next. What was the gap like at the glucose or glycemic measurement? Next. We had only blood glucometer, right? And what is blood glucometer? Blood glucometer can tell you how much is your blood glucose right now at this moment. It will not tell you how was your blood glucose last month, last week, or last 3 months. So many times the patients, they know that I have to visit after a week to the doctor, and they start following every precautions. And when doctor test the blood glucose and he found it normal, but again when they reach home, they start all that sugar eating and all that habits. So while it is a useful tool, blood glucose, but it can only give the current value of blood glucose. But what is important in diabetes is the past control of your blood glucose. And fourth pillar is early detection of the complications. That is very important, right? Because diabetes complications are irreversible. That is the main point why diabetes is so chronic and deadly disease. So you cannot reverse the complication. If somebody had some problem because of diabetes in the heart or kidney, then it can, with the medicine and the control, we can halt the progress, but we cannot reverse in almost all the cases. Next. So two things in the diagnostics which we found that we need the immediate attention. One is in the glucose control, we should not only rely to the blood glucose measurement. And second thing was we should detect the complications of the diabetes at the early so that doctor can stop the progress of these complications. Next. And with this, the goal, I, started my PhD with Professor Navakant Bhatt in Center for Nano Science. Topic of my PhD was biosensors for diabetes. And the outcome of my PhD came in the form of the novel sensing chemistry for all these 8 type of markers, right? Which are related to diabetes, its complications, anemia and malnutrition. So majorly the public health disease markers. We have, after completion PhD, the 4 international patents. So this is the outcome of my PhD in IISc. Next. Third P is PathShodh. After the PhD, we incubated PathShodh, with only single focus goal that this technique, this technology should reach to our people, right? Next. The first product of the PathShodh is, we called it Path. Anu because it is a smaller entity of the material, so it is the Anu. We invented this in Nano Center, and Path is the way and the pathology. So this is a handheld device like a mobile phone, and it has the capability to detect these 8 markers like blood glucose, HbA1c. HbA1c can give your control of last 90 days, like microalbuminuria. When the kidney problems start, in the diabetes patient, it is the silent killer. There is no symptom at all, but at the early stage, this molecule start coming into the urine. So if you can detect this, we can halt the progress of kidney failure. And around this technology, we have filed the patents in 5 different countries, publications, and all that. Few features of this product, Anupath, the tiny sample volume. We make it as convenient as blood glucometer. The principle is similar, but we invented the sensing chemistry, which is different for the different test. You can get the sample result within few seconds or minutes. There is no sample preparation. You can prick the finger and apply the sample directly. It has the wireless connectivity, and it can reduce the test cost at least 60 to 70% from the pathology. We had the very rigorous clinical validation of this technology with our partners here in Bangalore, hospitals chains, more than 25,000, the real samples, not the standards. Next. Just give you, one insight that how this single handy device is equivalent to the 5 big machines inside the pathology lab. If you want to measure these 8 markers, then you need at least 2 to 3 crore investment, right? And running cost of the lab, which this small handy device can perform for you. No single big analyzer can have all these into one machine. Next, please. Right. So first we released this product later 2017 in Swami Vivekanand Youth Movement Hospital. They have the big operations in tribal women screening. And there were some area where first time diagnostics was reaching. They had the mobile vans, they were carrying this device and found it very helpful. Then in 2018, we had the partnership with Tata Trust. We, installed this device into some villages in Uttar Pradesh, in Varanasi, Vrindavan, and some of these areas. Next slide, please. So some of the the pictures on the ground, I want to just give you. And this moment, for any researcher, for any entrepreneur, is a very fulfilling moment. Next slide. Next, please. You people should keep your questions ready. You will make it, interactive. I will quickly go through a few more slides and then we'll have a discussion. Next slide, please. Right. So I just want to show you, some pictures in some villages and remote areas of Varanasi, how rigorously people use this. Sometime the people were doing the testing under the tree, under the there was no infrastructure at all. And this was possible with such type of technology. Next slide. Next slide. Now came 2018, while we were installing and deploying this product into the market, Government of India, central government has came up with a regulation. Regulation is very important part for medical technology because this is a most sensitive technology connect to the life. So they ask, earlier there were only few tests were covered under regulation, and after that our test also came under the regulations, and regulation has a complete different territory, which it is very hard to understand for the researchers because we are very much into the research. But this was a mandatory requirement, and we completed all the regulatory approvals. Now PathShodh is ISO 13485 2016 company. We also got the Drugs Controller General CDSCO licensing from the central government. And you will be amazed to hear that India in the diabetes population come at number 2 after China in the world. And still, we don't have, our own glucometer. Forget about other advanced tests. Glucometer mostly we are importing from the Western countries. So, when National Institute of Biologicals, this is also the health ministry agency to give the certificate. When they had given us the certificate that your glucometer is as per, the guideline of WHO, and they found it as accurate as per the international guidelines of WHO, the scientists in that lab were very happy that we were waiting that when our people will develop something, we are doing the certification for other important projects. And after that, the other regulatory certifications we got, because you need to get the certificate for the device safety, the electromagnetic interferences, and all that we completed. Next. Technology is, as mentioned, that it is rewarded, recognized at different platforms, MIT, FICCI, CII, and others. Next. We demonstrated, to the policymakers, to the leaders of the different groups, invited in Rashtrapati Bhavan to pitch this technology several times. Next. We had the the good the relations with the market leaders like Titan, the AstraZeneca, the Anjani Mashelkar foundations, the recognitions here. Next. Just a couple of slides, that how the technology and quick turnaround time can be very beneficial for the society. When lockdown announced in 2020 March, there was no work for me, my team, and we were at home. And that time, the government agency like DST asked us that you have a platform which can do so many tests. Can you also develop a technology? This is the the need of the hour for the COVID-19. Can you do the COVID-19 antibody test? And this is an example of the how the researchers can turn around the whole story. My team, we are the people of 5-6 into the R&D team were working day and night during whole lockdown period till the midnight in the office, and developed this technology, filed the US patent, very novel technology for total antibody test, right? And this is one of its kind of technology. This is validated and certified recently by ICMR, and this is approved by Drugs Controller of India after whole certification in place. And total time to develop the technology, file the patent, complete the clinical validation, and get the approval and certifications, it took around 9 months, like a baby born. Next. Enter, please. So, like, such technology are very crucial. If you compare in today's antibody test, what is available, you have to go to pathology lab. And if you want to do this test into the remote area, then these big analyzers have the limitation of the scalability, because big machines are find it harder to scale. While on the other hand, we have some test script available which are qualitative in nature, for the COVID-19 antibody test. So this product, combine best of both technology. This will give you within 5 minutes, very quick result on the screen in the quantification that how much is the antibody present in your blood, with a very tiny sample of 10 microliter, sensitivity, specificity 100% against FDA approved CLIA lab analyzers, and ICMR 100%, 94%. So it cleared from both the agencies. Next slide, please. Not only that, we are now into another missions to have another test for the antigen, and this is my team, doing. We are doing the validation into Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute with the swab samples day and night. The whole marathon is going on. Hopefully, we will come with that test also soon. Next. So there are some progress, this Anupath big device we developed for the medical professionals, keep in mind. And now we are making a portfolio for the home users, the smaller version of these tests, so that the home user can also perform the test at the home, with the much economical and accuracy. Next slide. Just few things, if I ask you just to glimpse to give the the correlation, because many of you may be always following the biotech entrepreneurship journey or are planning to enter into this area, then you have to understand the difference between luxury and necessity. If I ask you the name of these two faces, then everyone I'm sure will recognize that who is this. Enter please. One is Mark Zuckerberg, other is Steve Jobs. Next slide, please. Now, if I ask another question, that what is the name of these faces? I am sure, hardly anyone can recognize these faces. Earlier, Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs are the CEO of the consumer electronics products. These four are the CEO of the biotechnology companies like Roche, like Siemens, like Abbott, like Daniel. Next slide, please. And these four people are, holding the percentage of 55% of your and mine diagnostics. But we cannot, identify their faces. Why? Because medical technology, anybody cannot come up every year with a new medical technology. Next slide, please. Just to give you an example, first MacBook launched by the Apple around 2006, until 19 or 20, every year Apple launch a new version of the MacBook, right? So this is possible in the consumer electronics. But for example, if you go for your kidney test in the pathology lab, same technique, same sensing chemistry the pathology labs are using today, which they were using in 1990s, right? Because consumer electronics has the part of software and hardware, but medical technology has, of course, the hardware, electronics, software, but very important part of the medical technology is the sensing element, which is most of the time is the chemical in nature, because silicon or electronics cannot directly communicate to my blood. So we need a mediator, which is the sensing chemistry, and the whole accuracy and efficacy of medical technology depend on this element, this sensing element of the sensing chemistry. Next slide, please. Right, so this is my last slide. You can read these 4 points. First is the doubtless dreams, right? Every one of us start our journey with some dreams, that we will achieve. But what happened during the journey? Because no journey can be smooth. This I can tell, from my little bit of the experience of entrepreneurship or academia. There will be the lot of negatives, positives. These are the part and parcels of the life of the journey. So everybody start the journey with the huge enthuse and dream, but when the problem come, they start doubting on their own dreams. Please don't do that. Have faith on the bigger universe, right? It is okay that you are managing lot of things, your own. You are trying to manage everything your own, but you can look back on your life, many of your decisions which proved very good in your life are not taken by yourself. So some things, some, behind, the whole effort, lot of forces work. We should believe, we should have faith on yourself first, in your surrounding, in the whole universe, that if I'm trying to do something good, then why not universe should help me. Third is the be passionate for your work. It is perfectly okay to have a madness about the research, about the science. But problems start when we attach with that madness, right? We know that we are mad about the science, but if the third person is telling that you are mad, then we feel very bad. So do your part and forget when you come your home, right? Sleep. Fourth important point, which I appreciate very much, keep alive the child in you. Right. Please don't ever become the too mature, right? In the business meetings, people start, I'm sure a lot of you already know what is the business school, how the hockey curve of the revenue. These are all good things. You will find the lot of people with lot of great accent of the English languages, personality, persona, and that should not affect your confidence. You are what you are, right? Keep alive that childish curiosity, no matter if the whole world is saying this is foolish, because they set it up. Many people set their mind based on the books and that bookish knowledge. But have faith in the child inside you, because that child inside you is the trigger of innovation, right? With the lot of maturity, you may line up with a line where already lot of things had happened. But if you want to try a bit into the breakthrough of the science, ask the innocent questions. Somebody is saying fool to you, that is okay. So keep alive the child in you. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay, for that inspiring story. A lot of us have problems, but we don't try to kind of find solutions. And it's really good to hear that you kind of made it a mission to find problem or a kind of solution for your own problem, but also helping the many more thousands and millions along the way. So this is time for questions, and I see that Sandeep, Sudeep, can people unmute themselves and ask? I see Deepika raising hand.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. They can unmute and ask. Deepika, you can go ahead.
Uh,
Thank you, sir.
you can also turn on video. Yeah, now we can see you as well.
Am I audible?
Yes, Deepika, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. It was an informative talk, as I am also a PhD scholar and recently defended my PhD, and my work was also on the biosensor development. So I have a question regarding the test strips. I just wanted to know that it has been purchased from somewhere, or these strips has been developed in the lab itself. So my query is regarding the test strips. And does these test strips were developed through screen printing or some other techniques?
Right. Understood. So, Deepika, test strips are the, uh, bread and butter of the revenue for the biosensor, particularly if you are developing the electrochemical biosensor, right?
Yes, yes.
So, in the electrochemical biosensor, as you know, there are the two components. One is the electronics meter, which we can transducer, that handheld meter, which apply the
Yes.
redox potential and all. And second part is the test strip. So test strip is based on the screen printing.
Okay.
In the early days, we were printing these strips our own in the lab, but this is a very routine process. You can find a lot of vendor for the printing work. So for a company which focus on the R&D and the novel sensing chemistry, we thought that we should not print these. So we are purchasing these from the big vendors in the form of the big sheet. And our job is to convert this blank strip into the biosensor. We do the whole chemical functionality, and then the all the clinical trials after that. So blank strip we are purchasing from outside. Now we are not manufacturing our own, but sensing chemistry is our own. The recipe is our own. The functionalization we are doing it in our lab and manufacturing. Right.
Okay. And one more thing, sir. For different strips, like if we are testing 10 or 20 or 100 strips, are you getting the same value of current or response? I will say
Exactly same. If it is not
exactly
same,
same. Yeah.
if it is not same, then there is no accuracy. I am giving you one example. As I already told that we are number two in the diabetes, but we are not, even have the very good glucometer of the India. So we tried the lot of vendors. Now these blank strips we are, procuring outside of India from US, but these are very much within the acceptance criteria which we had for our test.
Okay. So it is in the acceptance criteria, but not the exact values.
It
Or
is exact, yes,
almost in the criteria. Okay.
right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Are there any other questions?
Hello, sir. I have a question. This is Sudeep here. So, can you speak briefly speak about the challenges which you faced in fundraising for this?
Right. This is very good question. See, when we started the PathShodh in ISC, our first funding came from BIRAC DBT. And this was in the form of big grant, bioignition grant they have. Now, I am telling you, in the biotech domain, the things has changed, in last several years. Now at least people, if I compare in our beginning and even today, then the awareness is increasing every day in terms of fundraising also. So we started with the government grant, central government grant, and one grant we got from DST a little bit to begin with. Then we raise, there can be the three things in the fundraising. One is the grant. Second, you can have angel investment. As the name suggests, they should behave like the angel, but many times angel investors are everything but angel. And third is the ventures, venture capitalist. Okay. Now we were very, very confident in ourselves that how we have to go, because we are the core R&D company. If tomorrow some venture capitalist come and he proposes, I am giving you a lot of money, but I will decide now what will be the next step in the R&D. Then as a researcher, it can dilute the philosophy of the company. So that is why we thought before VC we should have the angel, and luckily we really found at right time the angel, and that was the angel. So like that, till now, I can tell you that we are moving on the angel investments, and because you should keep worldwide eyes. Lot of CSR activity, like Titan company, they had some program, and we got the funding from their CSR activity. Now there are a lot of option. If you enter into field, apply everywhere, and if your idea is really good, then I am sure without equity dilution also you can get the initial stage funding, right? And when you are mature, then you can set the tone of your company for VC raising, right?
Thanks a lot, sir. So right now we have another person.
Debayan, Sudeep? Yeah.
Yes, Debayan, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have one. So this is Devan from Center for Nano Science. So I just have one question about all the regulations that you showed. So did you go through them? I mean, did you do the due diligence yourself in the lab, or are there third parties which you can pay and they will do it for you?
Right. This is very good question, Debayan. And many times the researchers are attached to our research work, and we are not aware about the different regulation. But in the medical technology, the good thing was at least in 2015 when we started the company, we were discussing in the group about the different regulation. Of course, we were not understanding the whole A to Z thing, but we were talking. If somebody is giving some lecture online, our own effort, we were having some understanding. If some conference is going on, we were, attending those conferences. And then when right time came, we also took the help of some of other company that in some of the aspect, because regulation are the different type of regulation. For example, for company, ISO is the one type of regulation which take care about your quality management of the manufacturing. Second thing is CDSCO, like Drugs Controller General of India. They are more keen about the performance of device into the field, their accuracy, the customer feedback, right? And third is like safety of the device. So there are the different standards for different regulation. So first you have to choose, which one you will first hit, whether you want to take ISO first, or you want to go for the CDSCO, or first your own you want to complete the clinical validation, whether you have the ethics committee clearances and all that. So it is good for the startup if your money and if your pocket permit to get the help of some other company or other group to expedite the process. But end of the day, you have to do your own all these regulations. They can help you, to make the different documents, how to submit. But when the auditor will come, the auditor will audit your premises and your team, not the other helpers team. Right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we will take one last question from the audience before concluding this event. So anybody?
I have a question if nobody has.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
But I think
Doctor,
Mahalakshmi has a question. Let us give that opportunity.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Mahalakshmi.
yes.
Yes.
Dr. Vinay, it was quite an illuminating talk. The 3 Ps did show a path for an entrepreneurial journey. Those who are interested in it, thank you for it. I just had a query. When you, with your glucometer, was there a competitor, and what was the advantage of your glucometer over that? That is one question. And the second, what was the cost of it? Because you told from the pathology lab to a single unit, how did the cost vary?
Right. So there are the n number of competitors for glucometer in the market.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned in the beginning, this is in the market, this device from 1980s and 90s. In fact, our goal, as I mentioned, PathShodh goal was not to develop another glucometer because so many already exist.
Okay.
The technology goal was to go beyond glucometer, like for other advanced tests.
Right.
But initial few years, in fact, we didn't look for the glucometer, but people, started to ask, like, you are developing so many diagnostics for diabetes and you are missing the glucose. So we developed then the glucometer. USP for our glucometer, indigenously developed, and it has the WHO guideline certificates of the accuracy. We are making it as low cost as possible. If you go today, to buy any glucometer, the per strip cost is around, the 17, sometime 20 rupees. It depends on how many test strip you are buying. So we are, making it. This is the recently, like the 3 month back, we received the final accuracy certificate from NIB. and we are making sure to make it something in the range of like per test cost in say 9 to 10 rupees or even lower than that. We are negotiating with our test strip manufacturer, because if the raw material cost will come down, then definitely our whole the USP is we are manufacturing in India, we are not importing anything, but the raw material some is coming from the abroad, so we are negotiating. It can be the lowest cost glucometer of the country. This is the our aim.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vinay. Can I ask one more?
Yeah, the last question, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. This is I teach students here. So, would you entertain students who are not sure whether they want to go into entrepreneurial path or not, to shadow your work or something during their semester breaks? This is something I'm just checking out with you.
Sure. I love to interact with the people into the biosensor domain. If they have any specific question and query, they can definitely ask me. If I know the answer, I will be happy to give the answer. And in my group, research group also, in sometime I share this with the Navakant sir that sometime I feel PathShodh is also a department of ISc, because after learning these projects, this research work in the company, the PathShodh is a company. Many of our colleagues got the PhD positions in the very good, universities, Cornell and UK and IMAC and all that. So I really love to discuss. If there is any specific question, you can ask.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Dr. Vinay. If, I will just communicate this to my students. Thank you very much.
Okay,
So,
I think that brings us to the end of this inspiring talk by Dr. Vinay. And just a couple of quick comments. The big grant that Vinay talked about is open now, the BIRAC big grant. So if any of you are interested, you could look at the BIRAC website for the details. And another comment about the journey that Vinay has now, Government of India through Atal Innovation Mission has started a program called Deep Science AIM Prime for deep science entrepreneurship, and some of the videos about the funding opportunities and also the other aspects of the entrepreneurial journey are available as YouTube videos under AIM Prime channel. So I request some of you who are interested could also look at those resources, and through the incubator and other programs we are trying to add more resources and more information for people to get. With that, I would like to thank Dr. Vinay for such an inspiring journey, and also being very kind speaker, because we really want this to be a nice inspiring journey, and also a lot of interactions. And even whenever somebody asks me a question, I also ask Dr. Vinay, how did you manage this, how did you do this? So he has been a kind of quite helpful in that respect. So I'm sure Dr. Mahalakshmi and others on the call, if you have any questions, please reach out, and they're kind enough to respond with your questions. But you could also reach out to EntIISc and also us at InCense.
so we
Sudeep,
have put
any
forward the
final
mail.
closure comments from you? Otherwise.
So, hello, sir and ma'am. We are very thankful for having you both on our platform. And we also want to thank all the attendees, and we hope that you got knowledge which would definitely help you to take right decisions in the future. And by saying this, I also like to say that in the chat box, I have put forward the mail ID of Incubation Nanotechnology Incubator InCense, and as well as EntIISc mail ID. So if you want to communicate, you can feel free to communicate to both the ends. And by saying this, I would like to conclude this session. And I would also, we will be sending a feedback form for the talk soon. And kindly give us your feedback for the same, so that it will also help us to improve and curate ourselves according to the alignment of student community. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of the session. Thanks, everyone. Bye.